Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DevCast, your weekly Roblox podcast for all Roblox-related content and personal up-close interviews and conversations with some of your favorite Roblox creators. I'm your host, Dev for Hire, and today we are here with Luti Haga, known for his work in both Roblox development and general game development, as well as being the producer of the upcoming Avatar: The Last Airbender game. Welcome, Luti Haga. Woo! Let's go. Okay, so...
Thanks.
Anyways, I think we were on a general conversation of how does the general processes, game development processes between traditional gaming platforms like PC and console compare to platforms like Roblox. So it seems you have a bit of intriguing information on that. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, for sure. So my background is at Blizzard and Riot. And the main difference between, developed at those studios versus, say, developing games on Roblox is budget and team size. So Legends, when I had left, had 600 employees on it, 600. And the average, I want to say the average payroll cost of each person is about $12,000 a month. Probably a
Whoa.
little higher. I think that's a little conservative. But
Whoa.
you're also factoring in like they have a desk space, that factors in like
True.
everything that goes into it. So insurance and all that stuff. So yeah, the team size is a massive, massive difference. And obviously on Roblox, you can build a game just with one person. And if you have a budget of $50,000, that's a lot for a Roblox game, depending on what you want to do. So you can deploy capital like a lot more effectively, I think, on the Roblox platform than you can off platform. But obviously, off platform, there's a huge payout win. So Blizzard and Riot, they handle all their transactions. So they capture probably 95%. So of every dollar a customer spends, they probably capture 95 cents of that.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's ultra high risk, ultra high reward off platform.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of AAA games have to sort of go on these huge advertising campaigns where,
Yes.
Roblox sort of has this algorithm that's sort of built into it to, sort of ensure that your game succeeds where, and there's maybe a higher chance, because there's an actual algorithm behind it where, in AAA game development, you're all on your own, it's real, it's survival of the fittest, it's you, your developers, and that's sort of it. I think Roblox sort of has like a hand behind you, I think.
Yeah, and I will say this too, like, of the various disciplines that go on to game development, it's marketing is the easiest. So yeah, the platform helps, right? But at the end of the day 30 retention, getting an elite day 30 retention number is so hard. It is so much harder than marketing. Marketing is a hard problem. And there's entire businesses that only do marketing because it's such a hard problem.
Yeah.
But but day 30 retention is an entirely different beast. And to get an elite day 30 retention can make or break your business. So, and that's why, like, the platform does bring a lot. It makes it simpler. I think it makes it faster to get to good day 30 retention. I think another critical difference to me is I find that Roblox has probably some of the world's greatest game developers, because they've been doing it since a lot of people have been on the Roblox platform since they were 10 years old.
True.
And so it's been my experience that
Yeah.
exactly like you,
Yeah,
for example.
exactly, myself.
So
Yeah.
it's so, like, I find that there's a generation now that has grown up with Roblox that has a far deeper understanding of how to make something that a customer would want.
True.
Right. And that if everybody on your team has an elemental or a deep understanding of, answering the difficult question of why is someone going to want to play this game? If everyone in your team has that mentality, then the chances of you building a successful product go up exponentially.
Yeah.
Whereas off platform, when you've got 600 people on League of Legends, you have people that are just artists. They don't even play games. Right.
Yeah.
And that could be problematic because they might have an opinion or a perspective that actually makes the game worse,
Yeah.
right?
They don't understand the
So
consumer directly. They need to be like in the trenches with that game, and they need to, understand and play the game and so on. But I know that there's plenty of Roblox developers or even other developers that often don't play their games. But I can say for a fact that a majority of Roblox developers do enjoy playing games. And a lot of and love experimenting and understanding how each other's games work. There's like a little sort of ecosystem of competitiveness, and everyone is sort of looking to sort of get some sort of edge and understanding. Oh, that's a cool, neat way, that of how each one another do things, whether it's mechanics, whether it's monetization, and so on. And there's this little whole entire bubble of innovation, and it's always like bubbling and continuing, which is very interesting. And it's like I feel like Roblox almost feels like it's this experiment of when you have like when you have millions of people all locked up in this well, it's not a tiny platform, but in this big platform, and they're all forced to communicate with one another. Whereas I know for the gaming industry, so huge and so vast, it's an interconnected network, but everyone feels far away. But on Roblox, I think everyone feels very close to one another. The community, it has its own subset of its own community and everything. And yeah, I can see that certainly sort of like being an advantage in a way.
it
Whereas,
is. And
yeah,
I'll tell you tactically when you're on a team how it really manifests itself. So we'll do a play test of our build, right?
yeah,
Of a game we're working on, and we'll at the end we do a thing where we like kind of identify the
yeah,
issues,
yeah,
like anything that we think is holding the game back from achieving our objectives. And our objectives are always to be a top 25 game. And everyone on our team
yeah,
brings incredibly like well thought through issues, right? Like very challenging issues. And it's so much easier to operate a business successfully when everyone on your team is bringing you the issues that are real, like the real issues. Because if you have a real issue and you can identify it, then at least you can be on track for solving it,
mm,
right? And that has probably been the most amazing thing. And then even when it comes to strategically, like what are we doing next? Like my strength, what I bring to the team is I'm not a great designer. I don't have any of those other attributes, but I have a lot
mm,
of connections. People know me, you know what I mean? And so
yeah,
I'm able to bring back to the team. I can say, hey, we have these like 5 opportunities. Which of these 5 do we feel like is the strongest probability of being a top 25 game?
mm,
Right? And then we have a pretty in-depth discussion about which of those opportunities, if any of them, make sense,
mm,
right? And if it, so and that's powerful. I got to say like, um, you know, really just underscoring how talented Roblox developers are
yeah,
that they can come and bring opinions to that
true,
are like not just trash opinions. I mean, very high quality
yeah,
opinions.
very,
That gives me a lot of confidence for like, hey,
mm,
like, you're not always going to be able to hit day 30 retention. There's an element of the winds of fortune. There's an element of
true,
luck that
true,
exists there. But all you can do is just try. And I think
yeah,
that for sure. And I tell all my friends that are starting companies and running businesses off platform, I'm like, if you're hiring a game designer, I would strongly prioritize somebody with a lot of Roblox development
mm,
experience because, um, in particular, the game designers on Roblox, I think, are the most innovative. And kind
yeah,
of to your earlier point, I think that Roblox is where all of game innovation is happening right now. Like,
true,
I think that the budgets are so big off platform that you have to do so much to raise the capital, to get the capital
true,
required to make that bet that you're going to make safe. Like it's a paradox because in
true,
a regular business, you're constantly trying to de-risk,
yeah,
right? You're trying to de-risk. But for a creative business, de-risking in a lot of ways can murder your business.
yeah.
And I think that's what's happening to a lot of off-platform
And
games.
you know what's interesting about Roblox is it's in a way it's sort of a balancing game in which how you market on it, because if you do play your cards right on Roblox, you can get some phenomenal consistency, especially with your game and how the algorithm pushes it, and you can really float for quite a long time if you really know what you're doing. And that's what's so important about these Roblox developers that you mentioned. A lot of us who are veterans on this platform, we sort of know our way in terms of guiding people, who obviously are coming to the platform looking to sort of make a profit and understand how this environment works. We, of course, sort of know the keys to that. So it's a critical role that, when you're working with a Roblox developer in general, that you have a high quality individual who knows exactly what they're doing, and there's plenty of them out there on Roblox. A lot of people just sort of need to make it happen, which is very important. It's always about who you hire. It's always about who you work with. It matters a lot because Roblox is such a massive industry now. It's grown bigger than it's ever been in ever before. And it almost feels like it's got limitless potential, right? So, it really does now come down to who you truly can get, who can provide you the best value, and so on. And yeah, you're right. In general, there's some really great developers on the platform. If there's anything else you want to say about that, we can continue.
Yeah,
on that, but
I think the last thing I would say is another main difference is because the development community skews younger, like we have to have a whole different hiring strategy. So for
True.
us, like we have a really clear differentiator between what makes someone great versus what makes someone elite.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a really big difference between greatness and eliteness. And
True.
and so for us, we only want to hire elite players.
Yeah, in the
And
game.
the only way I've found to find this is we'll hire a lot of people and we'll put them on a contract and then we'll see,
Yeah.
are they elite?
That's a good way to test.
Do they have the qualities of eliteness? What was that?
That's a great way to test,
Yeah,
because it's
because
sort of
off
it's a short
platform you
contract.
can't exactly off platform you can't really do that as easily, but on Roblox you can do it pretty easily. I can pay a guy for a couple of months to try out on the team,
Yeah.
and if we like him, then we move him on to full time. If he likes us
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
So
Great.
that's a strategy, and not a lot of people make the cut.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that is how you have to make. I think that's how you have to build elite teams on
True.
Roblox. I think it's too hard. I got that idea from the way they do football in the United States.
Mm. Oh,
But
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
True.
we've had a lot of success with that.
It's
Yeah.
like that across a lot of specific industries, but obviously we know that it's much harder to do it in other specific industries because I know in general full game development, the expectations are mostly that you could hire them on the spot. When they're looking for a job or they need a job, but Roblox, it's sort of like a freelancer community in a way where there's just so many people freelancing and doing gigs for all different types of games. So what you're mentioning is also that Roblox is a very rife place for experimentation with all different types of Roblox developers and all of their different and unique skills, and you can bring them onto the table and you can just create these short contracts, test them, see how they do, how good they are, and you could do it in a quite fast and expensive manner where the actual full-on games industry, the AAA industry where it's not like Roblox at all. It's okay, sign this contract. I don't know how long you're going to stay in the company for. I suppose it's not quick. Yo, here's a contract. Let's see how you do, and so on. It's more like a commitment when you're hiring staff in AAA industry. It's that direct commitment. You make that commitment to that developer. Here's what you're going to be doing, and so on. But yeah, I've done plenty of contractors work as well. That's why I definitely know this. I've been on all sorts of projects as well myself, branded projects, regular projects, all contract type of stuff. So I'm sort of used to this, but yeah, I know the whole. It's quick, it flows. There's no sort of like friction at all. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I'm actually like the thing I'm the most excited about in terms of Roblox in general is like when all these people that grew up on the platform go take that skill set to any other job, I think it will translate very well.
True.
Personally.
Yeah.
Because I think even if
I
you're
agree.
working at a cement factory, you're going to be thinking about if you bring that mentality of what does my customer want,
Yeah.
right? What do they want? How am I going to give it to them?
Yeah.
I think that that's the thing that like Roblox developers bring, and I can't wait to see how that impacts the rest of the economy at large. And also, I will say this too, like another huge difference is because Roblox developers have so many options for what they can do with their time, the standards for how I behave and how I recruit are so much higher,
True.
right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have to be, I try to make an environment where everyone on my team wants to be here
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? Because they could go work at like let's face it, like game a company like GameFam is going to have more capital than we do. They're going to be able to pay people better than we can probably, and so they could steal away anyone on my team if they wanted to. And so the question is, what am I doing to make sure that my guys and on our team that it's the best possible work environment for them so that they're going to want to stick around? Because
True.
like I said, we put a lot of effort in to get the elite people.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's always
Yeah.
about getting the best players at the end of the day. Again, Roblox is
and then
perfect
and
for
then
it. Excellent.
keeping, and that's really hard. That stuff is really hard. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I think earlier somewhere you mentioned a little bits of your early career, but I was actually quite interested. Now, what was your early career like? And give us a bit of a backstory on how you even got started in game development in general. And share us,
yeah.
some of your
So
experience
I'm
with that.
43 for sure. So I'm 43 years old. So I'm old. I'm a boomer. Most Roblox people like everyone
I
on my
guess,
team
yeah.
is young enough to be like my kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
guess, yeah.
so I'm like I'm sort of team dad in many ways. But I feel like um the my background is I hated school. I don't like being told what to do. And I would spend all day in school just drawing. And when I was in school,
Same,
like
yeah,
I
man.
graduated high school
Same.
in 1999. So there were no cell
1999.
phones.
Whoa.
There were no cell phones back then. So
Crazy.
I had no other option but to draw every day in school. And then I eventually ended up going to an art college in San Francisco, where Blizzard hired me before I even graduated. So Blizzard hired me to work on Diablo 3 back in 2002 or
Wow.
2003. And so I got to join
That's great.
sort of Blizzard, and when I think we had maybe 200 employees then. So it was a very small company, and that was a lot of fun. And then I worked on Diablo 3 for about 7 years. I also worked on a bunch of the other projects there in between just to help out. So
Mm.
that was my experience. Shipped Diablo 3, left, and then briefly ran a company, and then shut that down, and then went to go work at Riot on League of Legends.
Yeah.
So and then worked on League for probably 6 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all various like R&D projects at both companies. Some that have seen the light of day, some that haven't. So
Wow. Interesting. Well, I don't think you should be sort of too harsh on yourself in a way that, let's just say, you feel maybe you're a little bit sort of late to the Roblox game, because everything I think that you've just mentioned there right now is what you could do. Like, there was no industry, there was no brand industry during that time. I think we're right now sort of in like a golden era of sort of like brands or large experiences popping up on Roblox. I think Roblox is sort of like entered some sort of new age now where, it's got the most attention it's ever got, and it's got, the most, just, yeah, eyes on it in general. And I think right now you're sort of like riding that wave. We're still in the early days right now. And, what you've done there is, I guess, what you could have done during that time, which is very
yeah,
impressive as well. I will have to say, being hired by Blizzard just right out of high school. For me, it's being hired by a Roblox company after high school. But that's how far we are in terms of like the gap. But that's how far things have changed now. If that makes sense. So,
yo,
where
I'll tell you.
Roblox
Let me
developers are
tell
being
you some
hired, I
more.
guess.
I've got some more information here that I think you might think is interesting.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
the one thing I have in common with Roblox developers is that I've been obsessed with games since I was a kid.
Yeah,
And if there was Roblox when I was a kid, I absolutely would have been building
I'm
Roblox
sure
games.
you would, man.
There's no doubt about it.
You'd be,
Now, not only
yeah,
that,
true.
but the other thing that's huge is the generation loves anime, and I love anime. Now, when I grew up, I grew up in a small town in Texas, and there was no anime store. Okay,
Oh
in
no.
order to buy, there was a VHS rental place at a gas station about 2 miles from my house, and so they happen to have some imports randomly. Okay, they got some random imports, probably because one of their friends was in the Navy in the United States, and I got a VHS copy of Akira, which is a
Akira.
very old anime. And as
Yo.
soon as I saw that, I was like, dude,
That's awesome.
this is 5 million times better than anything else that's on television. It's better than anything I've seen. And it's so crazy now that anime is so mainstream because when I
Yeah.
was a kid and when I was growing up, you were such a nerd for wanting and liking anime all the way up until I was even in
True.
college. Like when I
True.
was in college, people did not, they didn't like a lot. There was no video game program at my school,
Oh
and people
no.
didn't really watch anime. You know what I
Ouch.
mean? It was like I'm telling you, it was very niche.
It was
Now it's
boring
everywhere.
back then, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very boring back then. You'd have
Yeah.
watch like as a kid. I remember, um, what I had to compare was like Transformers, the animated series, when I was a kid,
That was
versus, and it's
awesome.
trash. It's just
Well,
compared to
compared to
freaking
now,
Akira.
obviously, yeah. If
Yeah,
that was everything you
and
had, it
now
was pretty
obviously,
awesome. But yeah, but now it's just like it's nothing in comparison. Media in itself has evolved so much, and as you mentioned there, like anime was so cool back then for you, but obviously then it wasn't as large. But now, anime has become basically almost practically. I think it's almost the largest media consumed on Earth almost at this point. It's become so popular. With all these
oh, easy.
animes like One Piece, especially, and all these like I think that's a huge one, and people love One Piece, and so on. So very interesting. Yeah, I think it's so fascinating how the media landscape has evolved and how you sort of went through those times where it was sort of like almost a drought of it, really, in a way, where the media landscape was completely different, and it's interesting how you evolved with that. So. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think that's safe to say that you definitely know your stuff when it comes to, media in general today with what people really definitely enjoy. So that's very interesting. That's fascinating. If there's anything you want to add to that, no, let me know. But if you want to,
I mean,
maybe
yeah,
we could
for
also
sure,
continue. Yeah.
for sure. I think the reason why there's such a big opportunity on Roblox is because brands, they know that they need to reach this audience. And there's never been an easier time to get to this younger audience in human history, really. And
Mm,
so it's very easy to build something on Roblox. Now,
yeah.
you have to build something great. That's very hard. But that's like the smart, and it's funny because I feel like you mentioned One Piece. Like One Piece, I
Massive.
think is so popular with the youngest generation, such a niche anime
True. True. Yeah. True.
before Roblox. I think one of the reasons it's so popular now is because Suecia has not been aggressively DMCAing uh,
Yeah.
One
Roblox
Piece.
games. One Piece games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so as a result, kids are playing, Blocks Fruits and all these other games, and they're getting exposed that IP. Um,
Yeah.
and that has done, I think that's delivered so much value, although I think Suecia would disagree. But
Yeah.
I think that the fact that they haven't aggressively DMCA takedown so many of those games
True.
has allowed the value of their brand to rise exponentially.
Yeah.
Because I think if you went to any middle school or high school in America, and probably even Europe, and ask people like name five characters from One Piece or name five characters from the Marvel
Mm,
universe, I think more people are going to be able to name One Piece characters than they are Marvel characters in that
mm,
demographic. So,
yeah, you're right.
what does that tell you about the future of One
Mm.
Piece versus the future of Marvel?
Yeah, it's so successful that it's creating off brands like unwillingly,
Yeah,
without even knowledge from the official entity of its of these games even existing. That's how successful the brand is. That people are willingly putting their time and effort, sometimes in instances completely for free, to make these games because people love these IPs so much, and it sort of just like spreads like a virus. So. And we've definitely seen that on Roblox for the past few years. Anime has just grown massive. It's just been absolutely huge. Yeah, it just seems that it's just this never-ending cycle of Roblox games, anime games, just popping up here and there because people are just really huge fans of these intellectual anime IPs. So very fascinating, very interesting. Someone needs to do a study on it because I think it's such a weird phenomenon. I think, it's so weird that how Roblox has become so rife for that to occur. The weather conditions are perfectly just right. How far, in terms of, Roblox is a platform where you can get something out the door quickly. So
Yes.
it's perfect for, people to say, to be like, you know what, I'm going to create a One Piece game right now on Roblox. Because I can get it out quite fast. It doesn't have all those walls and barriers and restrictions that the AAA industry has of having, and the actual physical communication you have to have, and the network of communication that you necessarily need to actually make it happen. Roblox is like, I can do it on Roblox, because I can. So yeah, it's so weird. It's like a little pool of just all sorts of stuff going on there, and all sorts of anime type stuff going on there. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to add on to that, yeah, we can continue.
No,
on
I'm
that,
ready.
but
I'm ready for another question. I'm
oh
ready
yeah,
for
for
another
sure.
question.
Yeah,
These
I'm
are great
interested.
questions. Yeah.
So this is speaking of anime and licensed intellectual properties and so on. I'm actually interested in what actually motivated you to transition from working at Riot Games or just the general games industry to actually creating officially licensed brand games on the Roblox platform. What
Oh yeah.
what really
Yeah.
drove
Let's
you
talk about
towards it? I'm quite curious.
that. So even though like I was an art lead at Riot, okay, which is a leadership position, but not a business position. And so my ability to come out and start a company,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, it's like, well, what do I do with the amount of cash I have? What bets can I make that are going to get me a decent return on my investment, so to speak, right? Like the goal is to make money. I have two kids, for example.
yeah.
And so at some point you have to have cash coming in, right? And so first of all, it was just purely an opportunity space. Roblox is growing like crazy.
Yeah,
It's cheaper to make bets on Roblox than it is off platform.
yeah.
And I'm on my resume or my personality or my business plan or whatever was not sufficient enough to raise capital from any real, the kind of capital that you would need to build a real game studio off platform, right? So using the capital I had, and I have a large like social network, so we're able to raise some capital, but not nearly enough to be able to do, I mean, not enough to build a game. Like we raised like $400,000 or so in capital. We have like 17 different investors, and they're all friends and family of mine, essentially, basically, right? So so no institutional investment, no strategic investors, and then I think what really helped us push into the realm of Roblox was the game fund. The game fund was
Game fund.
offering $500,000 grants. So I'm like, wow, we should try to get
True.
that and see what we can do. See if we can build some cool stuff on that platform, learn how it works. So that's kind of, did I answer your question? I hope I did.
No,
You
yeah, for
know?
sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting how sort of
Wait. There was, not to interrupt you, but there was another part of your
oh yeah.
question, which was why branded experiences?
Yes, oh
Well,
yes, true. Yeah.
because I think that one of the ways you can de-risk a project on for games that makes sense is to work with an already established IP. It's
True.
hard building an IP, just building an IP
Alone is very difficult.
its own entirely insane
Sure.
challenge.
I could take half
And
of
I
your
would
whole
rather
entire
just focus
life.
on
Yeah.
exactly. I would rather just focus on how do we get great day 30 retention?
Mm.
Right? Like let's focus on that question, and then everything else, like we'll offload the responsibility of coming up with an IP by working with a
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
And so this is also advantageous because, you know, look, if I was well capitalized, of course I would go to Suecia and then offer them a huge sum of money to work on their top tier anime IP. But the
True.
fact is, I don't have that kind of capital. So I have to work with brands, right? I have to look for opportunities that where we're more equally yoked with our partners,
You have to
where
build a
they need to be on
portfolio.
Roblox.
Yeah,
They need to be on Roblox, and they're
true.
willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
That will help me offset the risk from the development standpoint. So, but go ahead with
No,
your
for
next point.
sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
For sure. I'm just saying that it almost comes to a shock to me that we're even at a point in Roblox's history where companies are even willing to give out just funding in general to Roblox projects. Like, what? I mean, it just sounds absurd. I remember playing this little
It
block
makes
game. It
so
was,
much sense.
it's so, I
It,
mean, it makes sense now, but I'm looking at this, I'm thinking of like Roblox in 2006. Like I never thought that
yeah,
we would get to this point where a game with these little blocky characters and little brick houses and everything and blowing up stuff with and slashing swords at one another got to this point. Like it just sounds like absurd. Like, and I've been on Roblox for over 10 years now, and to me, it always felt like child's play. None of this was ever really serious. I never really even thought to begin with that anything could even get as serious as it could be. I mean, payment, I think, like DevX only started in 2017. Like Roblox was never really serious from the start. I don't think it ever really was. There was no, I don't even think Roblox even had a very strong financial goal at its start. Even it was just this weird small little idea that just kind of just exploded. So I don't know, it's absurd to me. It's just very weird, but here we are. Roblox is my full-time job, it's sort of your full-time job. It's and we're in two different generations of like of I don't know, it's just, it really does blow my mind. We're completely different ages, but we're both doing the same thing in some way, which is just weird, but
that's true.
very, very
Yeah,
odd.
that's true.
Very odd. So that's all I really wanted to comment on that, because when mentioning having to get specific funding and working with IPs because it's more seamless than actually having to create an IP. All of that. I think that's awesome and great that you managed to pull all of that off for sure. I'm actually quite curious. What are some of your hardest, lessons that you've learned in both industries, in the general gaming industry and the Roblox industry, and how do they compare?
I mean, man, well, the lessons are almost all the same,
Mm.
except for Roblox is at a smaller scale.
Mm.
So, and I don't mean that to put Roblox down at all.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
because the top 10 games on Roblox are doing quite well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
So, they're very, very, very excellent businesses. So there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
No, for
But
sure.
really, the hardest lesson to learn, the hardest thing to do is the number one factor that limits our growth is people. And
Mm.
I have to be capable of, why would the world's greatest developer want to work with me? That's a
True.
question I have to have an answer to.
Good question.
And yeah, and so I have to have an answer to that question. And it has to be a great answer. It has to be
Mm.
like an elite answer. Otherwise, they're going to go do whatever else they want with their time.
True.
And
True.
that's true whether you're on Roblox, or that's true whether you're a Riot, or whether you're a Blizzard. Because at Riot, I think it was really challenging for a lot of the leaders there, because, some of the guys are so talented. Like, first of all, game development is totally different than so many other fields, right?
True.
Because
True.
let's talk about what makes a great game developer. Well, they're probably much smarter than the average person. Okay. Not always, but typically. Now, so their IQ or something is higher. Now, not only that, but they're very high in conscientiousness, which means that when they say they're going to do something, they do it, and they tend to work a lot. So they tend to work well in excess of 40 hours a week, not because it's some artificial criteria, but because being really smart and working really hard tend to lead to, outcomes of success, right? And then they also and to have both of those things in the 98th or more higher percentile, and then you also have to be wildly creative, right? So then you have to be very, very creative. Okay, so just those three criteria
Mm.
are so rare in the world.
True, true.
Whereas, like what I was doing before I went to college is I worked at Domino's Pizza, and hang on, I have to,
No, for sure. Don't worry about it.
it's a lot of pollen here. There's, but the
Yeah,
only but there's nothing wrong with Domino's Pizza. I love Domino's Pizza, but you don't need somebody in the 99th percentile of creativity to be making pizzas every day.
true,
They have other
true.
talents, other skills, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're not quite as rare, like in combination. So it's like, do you have two hands at work? Can you stand? Can you follow instructions? These are the basic requirements to sort of make a pizza at Domino's. By the way, Domino's is one of my favorite pizza places. I love Domino's. But
Nice,
I'm just saying, like, it's different. So
nice.
every single person we have, that's the same. It's true on Roblox. It's true at Riot. You need very, very elite people in every position.
Mm.
And if we could, and the only thing holding us back from succeeding is my ability to recruit and to retain those people,
Yeah.
because we have more opportunities than we can execute against. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, how do we execute against those opportunities? Well, I have to have its teams staffed up and ready to go with
Mm.
all these various talents, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest.
Oh, yeah.
So
What you're saying there is perfectly true. When it comes to Roblox is definitely all fun and games when you're making games in general. It's really fun, but when it actually comes down to actually working with brands, that's when it definitely gets serious, and that's when you definitely need the best people on your team. And I could see that a lot of people in general can have very hard lessons learned, hiring the wrong people or not understanding the right people for the job. And I think it's important
yes,
that
it's the right
you,
people in the right seats is the
yes,
way that we talk about it. And
exactly.
the other thing too about when you have a team full of elite people is that when you have someone on the team that's not elite, that everybody's upset,
Oh no,
right?
no,
And
yeah.
everybody's upset, and
Oh
that's
no,
you're right. Like
yeah.
that's another big problem. And so so it's like that's. Anyways, I hope I tried to answer your question the best
No,
I could.
you definitely
You
answered
know
that
what I mean?
question for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I prefer you can maybe answer this one, maybe just like a short one, and then we're gonna sort of get into the Avatar: The Last Airbender. But I just want to ask this one last short question: is what was your actually biggest failure that you probably learned from? What is the biggest thing that's really hit you hard? What really shook your core?
Yeah.
If there's no particular points within your career where
Oh,
something
there's a
collapsed,
lot. The question
that's
is, what can I
perfectly
talk
fine as
about?
well. Oh
No,
yeah,
no,
sorry.
there's a lot. There's a
Oh,
lot, but
there's a lot. Oh, nice,
the
great.
question is, what can I talk about?
You
Um,
got a lot
I
of.
think like, yeah, like to build a successful business of any kind,
Oh
you have
boy,
to make a lot of mistakes. You
true,
have to make a lot of
true.
painful mistakes so that you can learn.
Yeah,
So I've made a lot of very painful mistakes.
you've stepped on some landmines, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you could
And
just
I,
you could even be vague about it. We don't even have to get into it. That's what I meant. We can just keep it short. So, but yeah, that's
yeah,
very interesting.
so I know you want a short answer. All right. Well, I would say that um when you there's a lot of process and thought that goes into forming a business,
Yeah,
and a lot of legal requirements in the United States. I'm not sure about other countries.
yeah.
And who you form your business with and the way you do that is so important to get right at the very beginning.
Oh man,
But the
yeah.
worst part about that is that at the very beginning is the time when you're the least capable of setting that up correctly.
True,
You know what I
true.
mean? And so
Yeah.
it's like, and then to fix that stuff later is so painful that just I would probably wager that 30% of all businesses that go bankrupt, it's because of a decision that they made on day one with
Ouch.
regards to how they established their business, who they did it with, and how they were
Mm,
gonna situate all that.
mm.
So
I
that
actually
would that probably,
I
yeah.
read up on something where it was sort of like a guide to running a general good business, and one of them said, have a good co-founder and have principles in your business. If those are like two core pillars that if you don't have, things are going to be really shaky. Apparently, so.
And I think the only reason we're at where we're at right now is because of we did both of those things correctly.
Yeah. Well.
Yep, and that is the only reason that we are here right now. If we screwed those two things up,
those two core
we would have died a long time
ago.
ago. Hard
Yeah.
enough to run a taco stand. It's about 1,000,000 times harder to run a game company.
True. Well, there we go. You're hearing it here, guys, from someone who actually does some serious stuff here. Runs an actual company, and does a lot of Roblox stuff. But ironically, this is with Roblox. It's always hard to believe, but yeah, this is Roblox, and even in Roblox, you need to have a good business, or else you will just collapse. You must have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there we go. Anyways, I'm actually quite interested to get into sort of your sort of role and how you are going about working on the Avatar: The Last Airbender Roblox game, which you will be releasing this summer, I suppose, on Roblox, which is very interesting. I actually want to get into this. What exactly is this Avatar: The Last Airbender Roblox game about? Does it have its own underlying story, or is it just purely gameplay with hints of story? Just curious about that.
So I can't discuss any of the details about the project itself.
Okay.
As a you know what I mean? And so I want to, but it's better to wait.
It's better to wait.
Yeah.
It's better to wait.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I want to see if I could ask you this. What type of game will it be? Will it be like an RPG or a simulator?
I can't even answer that. I can't even answer that.
Okay.
But I can talk a lot about almost anything surrounding it.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'll tell you.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
I'll ask you this. What actually made you choose Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Well, because we have we think that there's a strong probability, and it's never 100%. Okay, but we think there's a very strong probability that we could make a top 25 game.
Okay.
With that license.
So do you believe there's a strong market out there for that type of game within the Roblox?
Yeah. And so when we look at why is this going to be a top 25 game is a question that we will ask ourselves. And so there's two components to that. One of them is, can we make the kind of marketing material that millions of people are going to want to share on TikTok? Okay.
Yeah.
And we think the answer to that's probably yes. Because I think our Instagram video is very successful.
I saw it.
But
it had plenty of likes. I absolutely loved it. I think it was great. Very good marketing so far. Doing a great job.
And so when you look at an Instagram video, let's talk about KPIs. We're big on KPIs, right? So one of the most important KPIs on an Instagram video for all the listeners and for you is, what's the percentage of people that view the video versus share it? Okay. So what percentage of people share the video that viewed it? And a really great number is 1% of people that view your video will share it. An elite number, so the most viral videos, are going to be 5%. Our video is at 3.6%. So it's not quite elite, but it's better than great. And so I think there's a lot of what could we have done to get that to be elite? I think we know what we could do to have made that elite, but that's okay. So that's the marketing angle of it. And of course, TikTok has its own metrics for videos. But for the game itself, we have to answer the question of, why is this going to be a top 25 game? And then, of course, when you're working with an IP, there's another question that gets really important, which is how are we going to build the kind of thing that players that the fans of the IP are going to love?
Would love, yeah.
Right, because that's different than necessarily day 30 retention, right? That's different than day 30 retention. So, but just as important, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why we chose that. over the other opportunities we had because we felt like it answered. We felt like we had great answers for all those questions,
True.
and we felt like we could really deliver a lot of value to our partners.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's another kind of key concept here, right? Which is like, whenever you're working for anyone or you're working with anyone,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing that you have to do is you have to do it in such a way that we always
Yeah.
strive to be called back to play. Like, people only do business with you. People are only in your life because they want you to be there.
Yeah.
And so we have to make sure that we're always the best option for our partners. Right.
Yeah.
And so how do we do that? How can we be always invited to play by as many people as we can be? And that's a very hard thing to do, especially when you're dealing with major stakeholders at huge companies, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And so, and I think that advice is true whether you're an employee at a company. How can I make sure that I'm always the best? Like, if you want to be elite, then you have to really ask yourself, how am I the best?
True.
How am I always going to be called back? Am I friendly to work with? You know what I mean? Do I respond to messages quickly? Right? Like, am I always giving feedback about how to improve the process or the product?
Yeah.
Am I helping my
Yeah.
teammates improve? These are the same questions that you can ask at a company level too. So,
Yeah.
I
I think
don't know. I hope that
no.
was helpful.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
answers it for sure. I think it's quite smart that you actually chose Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it's sort of making a resurgence right now. The brand is sort of coming back after a long dormant slumber, I suppose. And yeah, it's coming back to Netflix. Apparently, I think a new show is on the way as well. So that's yeah. I think it's ripe time. You know, it makes perfectly logical sense. A lot of other
Well, that's
brands out there also sort of like reviving themselves in a way, and new seasons of television shows are being made and so on. So, yeah, I think it's what it's realized is a lot of brands have sort of realized is they actually can't stop. You know, they're more. You know, the media landscape. Is constantly changing, and things actually need to change and evolve. If that makes sense, and things need to. The show must go on. Yeah, so very interesting that Avatar is making a resurgence right now, and yeah, I think now's the perfect time. And all of you doing this at this specific time, I think is smart play. I will say.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think the other component that I didn't mention, which is what we start with, is are the people on my team fans of this IP?
True.
Because that's implicit in the question I asked the guys, which is what should we do next? What should we do next?
Yeah.
And they'll come up with a list of things they're excited about. So if no one on my team was excited about Avatar, we wouldn't do it regardless of the opportunity.
Exactly.
And there's plenty of those.
The team's heart needs to be in it, or else you're not going to come up with a very good product. Yeah, exactly. They need to love
100%.
the product that they're making.
100%. And otherwise, the chances of you doing the right thing by the fans is 0%.
Yeah, true.
And like, thank God, like, so many people on our team are huge fans of Avatar, including my wife.
Amazing.
My wife is about 10 years younger than me, so she grew up watching Avatar: Last Airbender.
That's
and
crazy.
She was the Netflix series. She was so mad.
Yeah,
she was like, "This is nothing like the series." I was like, "I liked it
at all.
I liked it.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
It was all right. You know what? I'm sort of in a balance between it. It's got some amazing things going for it, and then some things not so going for it. But you know what? Overall, I would say it's fine. But I would definitely recommend watching the original series for sure. Everybody, I know everyone would.
So I watched the original series, but years ago, like as an adult. You know what I mean? So as an adult, I like it. I especially love Uncle Iroh because I feel like I like he's the most similar to me or something like that. Or like I feel I like Uncle Iroh, like I aspire. And of course Aang, like Aang's character, the writing in that show is just 10 out of 10. You can't deny it. The writing in Avatar.
I'm already looking at you, and I can see I can already see why you are in charge of this project. Like you're sort of like nerding out already. It's kind of awesome, man. Like because I love to do this as well. I love to take a look at characters and stuff like that, man. I could already see why you're in charge of it. Yeah,
for sure.
Iroh's a great character.
Like the things I love about Aang, right, is like Aang he's so courageous.
True,
He
true.
has so much courage and he's so kind. It's like, who doesn't want to have those qualities
And he
maxed
can
out?
be kind of
You know what I mean? I
badass
mean,
at
he
the
is
same time.
so and also a badass.
Exactly,
And
true.
but he never uses force
True, true.
unless he
Absolutely
absolutely
has to.
has to.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless he and that it's like he's such an amazing character. And of course, Uncle Iroh, my favorite. I mean, the voice actor they got to do Uncle Iroh was I think he gave the performance of his life.
True,
You know what I
true.
mean? And it was just so good. So, anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
So
could go on about this,
it's
but yeah.
we could, and I feel like my biggest fear is that we don't live up to the expectations of the fans. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, for sure.
I think that there's a risk of like, anytime you're doing something like this, is like, we don't live up to the fans' expectations. So we are trying really hard to make sure that we are delivering on that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. And if we don't do a great job with that as a company, like no one will want to work with us,
Yeah, true, true.
right? So it's like if we screw that up, if we screw up the marketing side, or if we screw up the product, or we screw up the IP, then no one will want to work with us. So for us, the pressure is on. We have to deliver on all three of those categories.
Yeah. I
Otherwise,
respect that.
your brand that we would want to work with will want to choose to work with us.
And
You know what I mean?
yeah, and I'm it makes me sort of glad that you sort of, have this, idea that, if you are going to be dealing with this IP, you do want the best people in your team. And I think that's, it just, there's no way around it. And I'm very glad that, if you're the person working on this team, I'm glad that you know what you're looking for, and you know that you need the best people imaginable. So I'm really looking forward to this project. I'm very intrigued, very curious. A lot of people are
Thanks.
curious. I'm sure a lot of people who will probably be listening in are, they are probably also big Avatar fans. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And based on everything that you told me so far in this podcast episode, I think it's in good hands. Like I don't see any room for concern just yet. But we'll see how time goes on. But so far, everything. I think you sort of definitely have the right attitude on that. That it's all or nothing.
Hopefully,
It's all or nothing.
what I'm trying to do too is like, have you watched One Punch Man?
Oh yeah, yeah, I watched it.
Okay,
I read the manga as
so
well.
man, okay, I haven't read the manga, but
Mm,
season one, One Punch Man. First of all, the writing in One Punch Man is incredible. So the
true.
story in One Punch Man is really good. But in the anime series, they, I believe, for the first season, put together probably some of the world's greatest people,
Yeah.
right? To animate that and turn that into an anime. Because the fight scenes, I have like all those like I have all the fight scenes from One Punch Man like in a folder on my Chrome tab, so I can watch them from time to time, right? Because they're so well done. They're absolutely incredible. And because it was the director's choice to gather the world's greatest people and put them on one team. Now for
Yeah.
season two, not knocking season two. Season two is great. The writing, the story is great. But in season two, the animation, the art's not nearly as good, in my opinion, because they wanted to go a different direction with that. And I think for me, I'm
Yeah.
a lot more like, let's do season one.
Yeah.
Let's get the best people. Let's do the best we can and get the best people we can, and then let
Yeah.
them run with it.
Yeah.
See what do we come up with, because you can save money, right, and make a season two, but that's not going to live on in history. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
season one of One Punch Man, if they would have kept to that style, then One Punch Man might be the most famous anime of all time for like the next 40 years. Yeah, I think if they would have kept it. So, but that's just me. We'll
Mm.
see what they do with season three. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the A team back on that. I hope they do, because fights that are coming up from the manga are fucking awesome, and it deserves to have the world's greatest animators on that. You got to do
You
it.
gotta have the best, man.
I'm
There's just
so
no other
I'm like,
way.
how much money do they need? Like I'm
Yeah.
like, how much money do they need to put the A team on it? Because like I'll write them a check. You know what I mean? Let's just like, at
Yeah,
least for
exactly.
humanity's sake. Because it's
True.
like you got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Don't
Gotta do
skip
it.
out just try to make it happen.
Yeah,
So
true. I
eh,
want to, you know
yeah,
what? We're actually nearing sort of the end. We're almost reached an hour, but actually, I got a few small little questions, and we could sort of end off on this. But one thing I just want to say before I even ask those questions is what you're sort of doing, what you just mentioned about, you know, how specific seasons or specific points in anime or manga don't live up to one another. What's quite interesting about video games is that they're sort of like timeless in a way. They can be these little bubbles of a time within a certain IP and a brand, and they can just have their own little ecosystems where they just exist in that point of time, and you can play it endlessly over and over and over again. A manga starts and it ends, but a game could sort of go on forever in a way. And I think that's what's so interesting about, you know, what you're doing with current IPs and brands is that you're taking them and you're putting them into a timeless little a ball where people can experience it over and over and over again, and so on. And I just find that very interesting. So I just wanted to mention that, and I think that's quite cool in
yeah.
terms of
I
sort of
hope we're
tying into that.
successful.
Oh wait, sorry.
I hope we are successful. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure, man. Actually, yeah, and you know, in terms of like actual success, which is actually quite interesting. Pretend that you could just go back in time, and you could sort of give yourself advice or give anybody advice. What advice would you give to other people, you know, looking to try start out their brand IPs on Roblox, for example, or having to, you know, create IP branded experiences? What advice would you give to them?
Hmm. Advice is tough. Um, because it's like the best advice is very unsexy.
Yeah.
The best advice is like what we call due diligence. It's what we
True.
call due diligence, where say a brand, everybody has to do this with regardless of what you're doing. But if you're going to be investing a significant amount of capital into an endeavor, then you owe it to the economy, to your people, to your partners to do a lot of
Mm,
due diligence on it. And there's a lot of ways that can manifest itself. A brand came to us and wanted to do sort of a hub for their brand.
mm,
And when you really do the due diligence on those experiences, it's like, I don't see how that's going to add a lot to the bottom line of their business. So we decided not to do it.
mm.
And it's not because they didn't want to pay us, they're going to pay us. But the fact of the matter is that if I can't deliver, maybe this is the advice, focus as hard as you can on delivering value to the other people in your lives. That is, once you have yourself squared away, if you're a drug addict or if you've got cancer, you got to focus on yourself. But if you've got your major issues in life sorted out, then you owe it to others to try and do the best you can by them. And
Yeah,
sometimes that means you don't forge that partnership. Sometimes that means you do.
yeah,
But
yeah.
in there is the wisdom of I can't do what's best for somebody else if I don't know what it is they want for themselves.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that's the best I could do with that.
No,
That's
but
the
that's
advice.
it. Almost sounds like it almost feels like that's a very boring answer. But the truth is, you know, most things, like, how do I say this? Because it's true. It's like it's concrete, and it's like it's just the hard truth. You know what you're telling me. It's not like a fun, bubbly answer like, "Oh, just follow your heart" or something, or you know, or just yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're gonna get turned down. You're like, you owe it to people, you know, and that's a straight answer, and that, you know, that's quite true. That's quite whole. That's hard. That's just a straight hard answer, and I respect that. Like that really is a great answer, because obviously to anyone who's like probably young or is like aspirational and just wants to run into a landmine field, they probably don't want to hear that. But you just said it hard, cold and hard there. That you know um, that you know maintaining these sort of relationships is actually quite important, and yeah, it will guide you. It will guide you. So, I mean, really, I don't think there's any more to say. That's an excellent answer. That's really great. Um, what are your What are your plans for the future? What do you expect to be doing in the next 5 years? Curious on that.
Yeah, so our goal as a business is to build the world's greatest games. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
our goal for the next 5 years is to, we would like to have at least 3 or 4 games in the top 25 that we built from the ground up, um,
Nice. Nice.
in collaboration with brands.
That's
So
awesome.
that's our goals from a business standpoint. So my personal goals would be to have 2 more kids. You know what I
Nice.
mean? I would love to have more kids.
Let's go.
So
Well, there we go. That's awesome. Wait, I'm curious. Are you going to stick more to the anime side of brands, or do you think you're going to branch out?
yeah, so the challenge with the anime side of brands is clearly that like, I think that the anime thing is a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And like I would love to work with Blue Lock, for
Oh yeah.
example. I think Blue Lock
Oh yeah.
would be dope.
It's that football
Blue
anime,
Lock would
right? I
be,
think, or that football
oh yeah,
manga.
dude.
Yeah.
Watch
Yo, it's
just go on
crazy.
YouTube and watch Blue Lock.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the hard part is, for us, how do we get in contact with them? How do we negotiate a deal with them? And how do we make it a financial win-win?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's just one of the ideas we have. And so I'm gonna have to like probably like what we've been thinking about is like, do I have to go to an immersive language program to learn Japanese? Like, do I need to move to Japan for like 6 months?
Yeah.
Like, are these the things that are going to be required of us to be able to hit our goals? And
Yeah.
it's looking like that actually might be true.
Well, there
So,
we go.
yeah. So,
That's great. We're going to end
yeah.
off on the last question here. Is actually, what are your predictions for the future of Roblox and gaming industry as a whole?
Well, I think that Roblox will continue to grow. It's
Hmm.
hard to see. Like, I think Roblox is going to be a forever brand if they play it right. And I think Dave is very smart.
Yeah.
Dave and his captains are incredibly gifted. And I would wager that based on, I listen to all their earnings calls. I've met with them a few times. I think that they are going to persist. I think they're going to be like Lego. I think they're
Nice.
just a more advanced Lego brand. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I
From a
actually quit
brand
Lego for
standpoint.
Roblox, so yeah, but
There you go. I mean, so they're probably going
Lego,
to dominate.
yeah, Lego got boring for me. I
Um,
was like, this is cool actually. Roblox is cool.
it's better.
Yeah, it's
Better.
better. Yeah.
So I think the future of Roblox is quite bright because, you know, Unreal is trying to build their creator marketplace. But the fact of the matter is that central to the identity of Roblox as an entity is what it is. That
Yeah. Yeah.
and to try to take an already established business and pivot it into something it's not is going that would be like me saying like
Yeah.
that'd be like me taking Ludi Games saying we're gonna make pizza restaurants. I love pizza. There's a lot of money in pizza, but
True.
I know
True.
nothing about operating a pizza restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't live central to my identity and what I want to do with my life. And so as a result, trying to get everybody on my team to be on board with something so radically different would be very hard. So I don't think there's a lot of competition for Roblox in this space coming up ever.
Yeah.
I think it'll have to be another paradigm shift, like between Lego and Roblox. Probably in 20 years, there will be something completely different. Now, in terms of the
Mm.
games industry, this is very interesting. In the United States, we have rising interest rates. This is causing a shrinking of the money supply.
True.
And if you talk
True.
to anybody over the age of 65, they're reallocating their portfolios, right? Their financial portfolios out of risky investments and into stable investments, things like bonds. And
Yeah.
so that's causing capital to be harder to get to, which means that financing game projects is going to be harder. That means that even more studios are going to be shutting down. And I think that the future of the off-platform Roblox will continue to shrink because there's already been hundreds and hundreds of perhaps billions of dollars of investment put into companies right now that are producing projects that I think do not have product market fit, will never have product market fit, are going to come out in the market and fail, unfortunately.
Oh
And then
boy.
all the investors who invested money in those are going to get burned,
Oh
and they're
jeez.
never going to touch the industry again. So I think that the winter in the off-platform games industry could last perhaps 10 years.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I mean that's in the extreme circumstance.
That's
Yeah.
a very polarized perspective on both. That's so weird. That's a very interesting. It's like one almost feels like a bit of sunshine and rainbows. The other one's sort of like a dark, gloomy. But obviously, those are the most extreme cases, on both ends. Roblox may be like in a rise right now, but who knows? Maybe a competitor might come along. A good example of sort of is like Fortnite in a way. Like if something blows up like as fast as Fortnite did and has the same mechanics as Roblox and pays out better, that sort of might actually be a threat. But we haven't really seen anything like that come out as large. But sometimes these unicorns do pop up, and they're very strange phenomenons, and they just burst through the market. They just yeah, they just come crumbling in, just crashing in. But I'm very curious, and yeah, obviously, it sort of feels like the general gaming industry right now. While it might sort of be in a decline, again, that's the most dire situation. Maybe it could improve, but again, it's very hard to sort of do that right now because statistically right now, things aren't necessarily looking so good. Layoffs have been higher than ever as well. Like it's a very volatile time for the AAA industry or just gaming industry as a whole, and I don't know.
Yeah, that
Like
I
God
would.
knows
I
what
want to.
the.
I want to clarify, like about the games industry as well. What I'm saying really is massively impact the $50 million projects and up.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's and I'll tell you, like
yeah,
company like Riot has been, lower interest rates has caused, say, the investors in Riot to be okay with Riot not allocating most of its excess capital back to the investors in the form of a dividend. So
yeah,
what they've been doing is reinvesting that capital in new projects to try and grow their company. I think all the larger companies are going to be scaling that way back, but I think that there's always going to be an opportunity off platform for a small studio of say 5 to 10 people, right? Empowered by AI assist, not getting full market salaries, not having a lot of job security, but having a lot of passion and creating something incredible that gets a tremendous amount of players. That opportunity space is going to continue to grow. But the big investments, the triple
mm.
A's, I think they're going to continue to shrink.
I think what we're going to
So
see, I think what we are going to see in the future moving forward with AAA games is I think there's going to be more of a trend of having to play it safe. I think in terms of that is just picking what they know is going to work and they're just going to run with it. The games aren't going to be inherently too special or unique, but they're just going to be fun enough to profit. They're not going to be anything crazy or too wild that might end up breaking the bank in terms of like investment money and so on. Especially now during times where it's like so volatile. I think the whole entire gaming industry right now is also going through a complete shift in terms of what everyone really enjoys. I'm pretty sure you saw about Pal World. That was like one of the most weirdest things I've probably ever seen. But apparently people love that type of game. So, but I think a lot of us have caught off guard on which, not even realizing, whoa, people would actually like a game like that. And I think we're still finding out all these new things about the gaming industry shifting and changing in terms of preference. So very interesting to see where things go. And yeah, hopefully gaming also becomes cheaper as well. Like, damn, graphics. I mean, graphics cards, I'm actually glad that they've lowered down in price. But I know a lot of AAA games or just the general gaming industry, they have higher standards of like what you need on your systems to operate games. So hopefully better optimization in future also fixes, problems like that because games should be available to everyone. I know that it's also plagued by problems like that, but I'm very curious to see. I'm very interested to see how this is all going to shape out. So very interesting. So yeah, that's all I really have to say on my end. But yeah, uh,
yeah, I mean, awesome.
otherwise,
And it was great. Yeah,
yeah,
it was great
man,
chatting with you.
this
I
is
appreciate it.
yeah, this is a great podcast episode. Absolutely excellent. If you guys want to follow Luti Haga, his Twitter bio, his Twitter name is linked down below, even on in the video and even on the screen. Yeah, you guys could see it. So give him a follow on Twitter. He's very interesting with all the things that he's doing. Absolutely excellent conversation that we've had today. And yeah, otherwise, we'll see you guys all next week. All right. Peace.
All right, bye.
Bye.